The gentle knock at the door to the townhouse drew Rarity from her seat at the couch. She trotted to the door and opened it gently before smiling.
"Oh, we were wondering where you two had gone. Where's Twilight? Wasn't you two with her?"
Fluttershy and Spike came to the door, stepped onto the welcome mat, wiping their hose and feet respectively, as Rarity had shut the door.
"We were, but when the guards told us they found Nyx, she teleported without us," Spike answered. "We had only gotten halfway to Spell Nexus's manor when we heard her walking back with Nyx in shining armor."
"Oh, well, I'm glad to hear Nyx has been reunited with Twilight. But why are you shining armor with them?" "Oh, I know why,"
Pinkie Pie said, popping into the conversation with one of her legs raised high, like she was a grade school filly trying to get the attention of the teacher.
"I bet it's because they had a big heart-to-heart chat, and now they're best friends again. We can throw in Big Nyx's fair party. Just let me go get my party can. I'll have this place ready in..."
Fluttershy cautiously extended a wing to touch Pinkie Pie's shoulder.
I don't think Twilight's in the mood for a party right now." "What makes you say that, darling?"
The door to the house opened behind the quartet, causing Fluttershy to let out a small "eep." She looked up, standing on Pinkie Pie's back, while all four of them went back to the door. Twilight had been the one to open the door, and she was now standing to one side, allowing Nyx to walk inside, shining armor following a few steps behind.
"Girls, can you do me a favor? I need you to watch Nyx for a few minutes. Also, when my parents and Cadence get back, tell them to come into the kitchen." "What's it for, darling?"
Rarity asked, as she and the others stepped back, allowing Twilight to walk past as Shining Armor followed a few steps behind. Twilight opened the kitchen door, letting Shining Armor go in first.
"Because it's time we all had a serious talk."
With that, Twilight followed Shining into the kitchen, pulling the door behind her shut, with a sharp slam that caused Fluttershy to lose her balance and fall from Pinkie Pie's back. A burst of magic from Rarity saved Fluttershy from hitting the floor, but it could not keep the smile on Pinkie Pie's face from falling into a frown.
"But every pony should be happy. We found Nyx, didn't we?"
"We did, Pinkie Pie," Rarity said, as she set Fluttershy back on her hooves.
"But it looks like we'll have to wait until the hot swimming party tomorrow to really celebrate it."
Cadence, Nightlight, Twilight Velvet returned to the house with Rainbow Dash and Applejack. All five were happy as they came through the door. They were happy Nyx was found, and they'd be equally happy that they finally get to hit the hay. It was late in the evening, and their minds and bodies yearned for the comfort offered by pillows and sweet dreams. But Rarity met them at the door. She directed Cadence, Nightlight, and Velvet to the kitchen, where Twilight and Shining were waiting. At the same time, Rarity took Applejack and Rainbow Dash up the stairs with her. The five friends didn't want to intrude on what was a family matter. They also felt keeping Nyx occupied in Twilight's room, the place where they'd be having their holiday sleepover, was the best way to ensure she didn't overhear what might turn into a loud discussion. Yet, so far, it had all been silent. The five ponies sat around the kitchen table. Shining Armor was alone at one end of the table, while his parents, sister, and his wife sat at the far end, glaring at him with frowns on their lips. It was the painful kind of silence, one that rubbed against the mind like sandpaper.
"Just tell us why, Shining,"
Velvet finally asked.
"That's what we're trying to understand. Why did you say those things to Nyx?"
"I didn't know she was listening when I said them," Shining Armor said, trying to defend himself.
"Why would you say things like that at all?
I thought we raised you better than that."
"I know, and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause all this, and I didn't want it all to come out like that. I wouldn't have said those things when I did if the catwalk hadn't come crashing down on our heads. If Pinkie hadn't shouted then, Twilight and Cadence might have gotten caught in the accident. I was looking for someone to blame,
And so you think that makes it all right to blame Nyx?"
Twilight snapped.
"No!"
"Well, yes, Twilight, I thought she was the only one up there."
"But she wasn't! A unicorn chased her and—"
"I know," Shining Armor said firmly. "Luna and I found a unicorn that chased Nyx on the catwalks. He was a reporter. The same reporter that ambushed you and Cadence when we were getting lunch at the festival. You remember him, right? Twilight and Cadence glanced at one another, before looking back at Shining. Why would a reporter chase Nyx on the catwalks? Twilight asked. He wanted to write a story about Nyx. He wanted every pony to know that the princesses had been letting every pony believe Nyx was put in prison, when she had been actually living in Ponyville with you. He was dead set on getting a picture of Nyx, without her disguise, to make sure his story was taken seriously. He wanted ponies to know that Nightmare Moon was still a threat. Sounds like you and him would get along well, Twilight snapped. I'm sure you two could spend hours swapping conspiracy theories about how Nyx is trying to take over Equestria. Twilight, I'm sorry. Shining Armor stressed, trying to put as much sincerity into his words as possible. I know I messed up. Do you? Do you really? Twilight asked, sitting forward. Because I don't think you do. What if some pony else had found Nyx? Some pony who was as scared of her as you are. That pony could have hurt her. Worse, if she stayed out in the snow, she might have gotten frostbite or hypothermia. She could have died! I know! I know! Shining Armor said, standing up from his cushion. He turned and looked out the kitchen to the backyard. I get it, Twilight. I messed up big. Seems like that's all I'm good at anymore. I let myself get brainwashed by an overgrown bug. I let my magic get blocked by a crystal-obsessed shadow. And now, worst of all, I caused all of this because I let my own fears get the better of me. I should have trusted the princesses. I should have trusted you, Twilight. Then why didn't you? I was scared, Shining Armor said, not being able to bring himself to look at Twilight. I was scared I was going to lose my little sister, and I thought it was because Nyx would take you away. But that's not why I was scared. You're Princess Celestia's private student, Twilight. You're the bearer of the element of magic, and now a mother who went through Tartarus for her daughter. I guess it's just hard for me to see how a mayor as amazing as you needs your big brother anymore. I guess with everything I've done, you wouldn't want me for a big brother. Even if you did need one. Shiny heard the Clara hose behind him. He turned from the window and saw Twilight stood up from the table. Her ears were pressed flat against her head. Nose was scrunched up and she was pacing. Each footfall was driven into the ground, as he was taking out her aggressor out on the floor to keep himself from going after him. Twilight huffed, puffed, and mumbled to herself. She glanced in Shiny's direction on occasion, but never for more than a few seconds before going back to her pacing and mumbling. She kept her face quiet, as if she didn't want any pony to overhear the argument she was having with herself. And it was an argument. Twilight raised her voice at times, and was constantly turning her head left or right, as if she was talking to a pair of ponies on either side of her. This went on for several seconds, before Twilight finally returned to her seat at the table. Nightlight let out a concerned hoof, but Twilight waved him off, before fixing her gaze on Shining Armor. I understand what you're saying, Shining. You'll always be my big brother. Even if I do want to turn you into a cactus right now. I think it's going to take time before I can trust you again, especially around Nyx. Shining slowly sat back down at the table as he nodded. I know. Still, thank you for helping Luna find Nyx, Twilight said. Now come on, we'd all better get to bed. It's been a long night, and we don't want to be tired for Hearth's warming party at the castle. The 5 ponies nodded and stood straight for the table. Nightlight and Velvet were the first to leave, with Twilight a few steps behind. Cadence lingered at the door to glance back at Shining for a moment. He dared to smile, thinking he had some kind words to say. Cadence, however, just glared at him for several long seconds, her eyes burning straight into his very soul. She then turned and huffed, stomped up the stairs. Shining then heard the loud snap of a door, and he knew in the instant he was going to be spending the night on the couch. Shining Armor groaned and turned on the couch, struggling to get comfortable in the dark of the living room. He had fetched a spare blanket and pillow from a hallway closet, As he tried to sleep, the house grew slowly quiet. He could hear some voices drifting down the stairs. It sounded like Twilight and friends, and Spike were still up. He also heard his name a few times, a sign they were likely talking about him. Even that chatter died down eventually, allowing the house to grow truly quiet. It was peaceful and calm. It was a proper heartwarming eve night. But even then, sleep did not come to Shining. He could only lay there, staring up the ceiling and thinking about Cadence. Why did he say that to her? He still didn't know. Yes, he was angry at the time. Yes, sometimes you say things you don't mean when you're angry. Yes, he had probably said the single stupidest thing he could do to his wife. But he didn't mean it. He would never purposely say anything like that to her. He loved her. He at least felt like he had made some headway with Twilight, after the talk in the kitchen. But Cadence, he had never seen her that angry before. She had always been a ray of sunshine to him, the one that made him and Twilight smile. To see Cadence like that, it made him fear her more than the Changeling Queen and Somber combined.
Uncle Shining, are you down here?
Hearing the small voice, Shining was drawn through his thoughts. He sat up on his couch and cast the light spell with his horn. It filled the room with its gentle white light, and he was able to see Nyx. She was coming down the staircase, a small pillow draped over her back. I keep telling you this. Stop being cute. God, I'm dying of a heart attack. Yeah, I'm here. But what are you doing downstairs? Shouldn't you be up in Twilight's room with everybody else?
Rainbow Dash is snoring really loud, and Pinkie Pie keeps making these weird squeaky noises. I think she's sleeping on a bunch of balloons.
Knowing Pinkie Pie's dreams after watching Do Princess dream of electric sheep? Yeah, I can see it. Nyx said she reached the bottom of the stairs and began to walk around the edge of the couch.
Can I sleep down here with you?
Well, I don't know, Nyx, Shining said, even as the filly hopped up onto one of the neighboring seats. Twilight probably wouldn't want you down here with me right now. I'm kind of, well, it's hard to describe. I'm in trouble and...
Are you grounded?
Shining sat dumbfounded for a moment, thinking about that word. He wasn't allowed to sleep in his own bed. His family was angry with what he had done. And if Cadence had her way, he'd probably have to clean the whole Crystal Castle with a toothbrush. Yeah. He eventually said with a laugh. I guess I am grounded. Nyx lay down in the chair she had led down to, resting her head on the pillow she had brought downstairs.
Is it because of everything you said? Oh,
Yeah, it is.
that's silly.
Nyx said as she watched him from her pillow. Why is it silly?
Because I'm not mad at you anymore. And I was the one you were saying all that stuff about.
Why aren't you mad? Shining asked, curious thought crossing his mind. You were away when you heard me say it. But when we talked in your dream, you didn't run away.